EFCC. If you think about it now, it seems like there was never a time without EFCC. But EFCC came to be, I think, about 10 years ago, really. Or is it, well, it came to be in the early 2000s. And the first head of the EFCC, I think it was the first head, was Nuhu Ribadu. Nuhu Ribadu was interesting because at that time, he became one of the most feared people in Nigeria because the AFCC was going after everyone. At the time we sat down for this interview, it was a special with young people during the Get Better series. Nuhu was at the height of his career as chairman of the EFCC. A lot of things have changed since then. I think that watching this would remind us of a time when things were quite different from where they are now, right before the whistleblowing saga, the whistleblowing time. Those days, nobody blew a whistle, but there was no hold about it.
And thank you for coming this morning. I know how hard it is to get you to sit down on this seat this morning. And everybody wants to ask you a question.
I'm available.
You're available. Right. To start with, where did Obasanjo find you? That's the first question. Because I looked at your resume, your law degree, your master's degree, and all of that, and you were in the Nigerian police. And we all have an impression of the Nigerian police. And you were brought out or brought from within the Nigerian police to head EFCC.
Yes.
How did he find you there? And did he know you were going to be this kind of person? Oh, I don't know if that question makes sense.
No, I don't think so. First of all, I've never met Obasanjo before my appointment. Indeed, after the appointment, it took me about 2 months to meet him physically, one-on-one. My appointment, I think, came as a result of my work and interaction with the former Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Kanu Agabi. I think when he was then the Attorney General of the country, and this office or position of the chairman EFCC was to be filled, and I think it was his responsibility to look for someone who was going to occupy it. And he felt part of the qualification for the office is you will have to come from the law enforcement, either as a retired or serving law enforcement, member of the law enforcement in Nigeria. And in his own wisdom, he thought I could do it. I met him, I worked with him a couple of times. I was a member of the failed bank inquiry during the Abacha days. We did the work of the attempt to sanitize the banking sector in the 90s. Yes, I was part of it. And then I think then he was a private lawyer, and I think he had some cases to do with us. Then again, I think after he was appointed as the Attorney General in 1999, there are a couple of cases that I did. I was with the police force. I was indeed heading the legal and prosecution department of the police at the force headquarters in Abuja. If you remember, there was a case of the first Speaker of the House of Representatives, Salisu Buhari, who somehow was accused of falsification of documents.
The Toronto.
That is it. I did the case. I got him convicted. That was the first case that I had in an interaction with Kanu Agabi. And I also handled the case of the former Permanent Secretary Ministry of Defense, Olusemo, who was caught taking money from government, and that was my case as well. I took it to court and I was prosecuting it up to the point when it was taken away from me. Anyway, that's another story altogether. Then after that, I also handled the case of the Abachas, the Bamais, the Al-Mustafas. It was my case. I was the one that brought them to court and charged them in the court here in Lagos. And after that, I handed it over to Osibanjo, Professor Osibanjo, the Attorney General of Lagos. These are some of the cases that I handled. I also participated fairly well during the Oputa panel. So all this had me, it was an opportunity for a close interaction with the Attorney General of the country. He felt that I could do it. And indeed, when the appointment, when they were looking for someone, I was out of the country. I was in the US. I was engaged in something, bilateral something with the U.S. government. Indeed, I was in a training school doing something in the U.S. So my name was mentioned, and somehow one thing would lead to the other. I ended up getting the job.
Okay.
And that's it.
A lot of things falls into place for me, because I always wondered, who knew this was the way. I have one quick question before I go to the ladies.
Yeah.
And that is that, you say these things with a lot of pride. I did this. I did this. I mean, I'm sitting here, I know the things I'd like to do in my mind. If I had the opportunity, or if I just get there, it would seem to me that, was it that growing up, you were watching TV or you were watching the things happening in Nigeria, you were saying, God, just let me be a lawyer and a policeman and we catch this person. I don't get it. It sounds almost like it sounds almost, what is that word? Almost evangelistical. Like it's a cause that I must do this. Is it something, how did it become like that for you in the first instance? Is it just looking at Nigeria, or is it just the person you are? You just are this sort of person. You don't like people doing things this way and you want to catch it. And
I
then,
think that's it,
two-point questions. Because you said then that they said they needed somebody who was in the police, who had police background. That was one of the requirements. Was one of the requirements also somebody who had a death wish?
Well, I don't think I do have that, even though I'm not afraid of it. But I think fundamentally is the way you are. It's how you are made. It matters a lot. Probably that's how I am. And I also love justice. I want to fight for what is right all my life.
Why is that so? What happened to you
sometime
in your life that made you... Why do you want to fight for justice? The way you are, do you think it's normal, for example?
I think to me, yes, it is. And probably it's also as a result of maybe the upbringing, the background, the genealogical formation, and how maybe probably how your parents, and somehow it's not something that happens with
just the water. So
you drank a different way. You must have, because no disrespect, you are an aberration. I said this before the camera started rolling. We all have our impressions of the Nigerian policeman. I'm sure everybody sitting here has had one sort of experience or the other with the Nigerian police, or you've seen it happen to somebody else. How did you happen? What failed to happen to you?
And there are, incidentally, I can tell you, there are a lot of good people in the Nigerian police. First class, good individuals. And I'm telling you, probably it's only in the police where you have people who sacrifice everything and not getting anything in return. There are people who do not really have good reputation, image, honor, and dignity, but still they go to work. There are people in the police who do not take money, but there are others who are, and not just the police, it's all over. I think it is a matter of choice. Whoever you are, you have the choice. You could go this way or the other way. If you have opportunity, you probably will do what is right, or you could equally do what is selfish. It's always a choice that is open for all, for individuals. And a person can be an armed robber, and he can equally be a priest, or an imam, or whatever. It's your own choice. A lot of us will choose to do what is right and stand by what is right. Some others, with somehow a bit of some extra thing, would also want to fight for the rights of others, would want to insist on doing what is right. I am honestly, just inside me, I hate to see injustice. I hate to see people taking advantage of positions. I hate to see people feeling big to the detriment of others.
They say you hate, you said once that, only poor people, I read in the papers, I don't know if you were quoted correctly, that it seems that only poor people go to jail, that I want to make sure that big people too who have done wrong.
That is it.
They don't like big people.
That is the crisis of the man. Not necessarily, because who is big? What qualifies you to be big? It's just because you had an opportunity to wear a green uniform and become an army and you go and steal? Is it what makes you a big person? That's what I disagree with. Or is it because simply you can hoodwink, you can deceive people, you can wear babariga, you can go into office and convert what is not yours and you turn into a big man? Or is it because you are a businessman and you can take advantage of things? You can compromise processes. You can get friends to do things for you, even if you do not deserve it. You turn out to be the big man. Who is the big man? The big man, in my own estimation, in my own belief, is the person who stands by what is right, who will do things properly and correctly, who will not put his own selfish interest or the interest he represents before that of the common interest of all of us. This is the big man in my own context. And others, I don't look at them and don't regard them as big men, honestly.
Don't you fear for your life? It's a valid question.
Well,
these people
I love life. I want
built
to live
an
long.
industry around corruption, and you want to take it away from them, and you're not making any.
But someone will have to stand up to this type of things. And it's not just me. What I'm doing is a little out of what others have done. For example, take Gani Fahimi, what he has done for this country, the sacrifice he made, and he has been doing, he has been going through. He went through all the tribulations you can ever imagine. I've not gone through that. No. Maybe what I'm doing is not 1/4 of what people like him have done. There are several of them. There are others who are also sacrificing their lives. There are simple, common people who die daily in the course of public responsibility and duties in this country. There are ordinary constable policemen who are gunned down by armed robbers daily in this country.
So if you were not chairman, if you
it.
didn't have the instruments of the EFCC, would you still, in your capacity, wherever you are, do the thing that
yes,
you
I
are
will.
doing?
Yeah. You know, what happened was, even when I joined the police force, I had the option. I mean, I can tell you I'm from a fairly well-to-do background, no doubt about it, and I had all the opportunities to be whatever. But when I finished my NYSC, incidentally, during my NYSC, I had this advantage or privilege or chance to participate briefly in the investigations that took place after the takeover of the military takeover of 1983-84. So I participated in the investigation of the politicians. Small, brief, but it made an impact. And it gave me sort of satisfaction and comfort, and I really liked what I was doing, fighting for justice, going after those who deceive people, who cheat people. And I liked it, so it made me to say, okay, maybe my only place where I will have comfort, where I will enjoy, will be an opportunity where I will be a law enforcement officer, where I will ensure that there is justice, there is rule of law, there is order, and that those people who are at the other side, the wrong side of whatever, are those that we are going to go after. And it made me to go this line that I've taken. I sacrificed, so I developed myself then, because I had massive good jobs. It's not something that I can talk now, but I really reduced myself.
You chose the least desirable because that was where what you wanted to
yes,
do.
And that is important in career, and I can advise just any growing up person. Look at what you think will give you satisfaction in life. See where you think you can make your best contribution, and let it be not extremely a very selfish decision. Look at the surrounding around, your immediate family, your immediate community, and then the wider society. What is it that you will do that will be to the best interest of all this?
Didn't you have the challenge of bread and butter, though? Because that's what young people say to me, for example, that, but I want to be able to eat. Didn't you, in taking the decisions that you have taken all your life, from leaving school, doing the first investigations, choosing to go into the police, it obviously wasn't very luxurious or anything like that. But, there were still questions of bread and butter. We call it the big hole. I have to survive. How did the issue, how did the realities of needing to survive not impinge into the things that you wanted to do?
You see, okay, first of all, I think I'm lucky that I came from a background that could afford basics. Not very ostentatious, not living above whatever, but the basics. And through that, I also came up with an orientation to live within my own means. And it's not very expensive, really. Sometimes I will go through days without spending 1 kobo, because I don't need to, really. And it's not that extremely expensive to survive, to live like bread and butter you're talking about. It's only what you take for life, what that is going to make whatever. Some people live extremely high, very, very expensive. Some people insist on the highest in standard in taste, but others also can do with the normal basic things, and they are affordable. Honestly, they are just affordable if you live within the normal life. I've never had the difficulty of survival, and I'm okay with that. And I think most people are like this.
If we are going to be sincere, really.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
Yes, but of course, you will want to improve your life naturally. Everybody, you want to see if you can better your life, you can better those who are around you, and this way you can do it, even if whatever responsibilities or wherever you are, whatever you are, you can actually improve your life, especially if you work hard, whatever you are doing. I joined the police. I had good salary. It's not terribly bad as people are saying. No, it's not. And all this story about police not being paid like this is a lie. Most of it is justification for taking bribe.
Okay, now, I have a question for you. Focusing on the commission that you had, there are a group of people that want to diminish your obvious success, and personally, I think they should know better. Yeah. And they do this on the premise that the commission is selective in the pursuit of suspects. What informs the decision to go after anybody?
Well, there are two questions that you put there: the selective side, and then why? How do you come about the selecting? I can. Maybe you can even ask me specific cases and I'll tell you how we started it. Almost every case we are investigating or we took, I can give you a history of it, how it happened, why we took it, and of course where we are. We try as much as possible to be transparent in the work we are doing. Nothing checks all these type of allegations and accusations are better than being open, transparent, and accountable in whatever you are doing. When you are doing this work, there is no way for you to avoid being accused of one thing or the other. At any given point and moment, someone will accuse you of doing this thing because of that. That is normal. Our own is to understand that and also live with it and not to allow it to interfere with what we believe is the right thing. When we started this work, and from the beginning, from the first chance opportunity we had, personally as an individual, I knew that it was an opportunity that we could do something for this country. It is my understanding that our problems, and indeed problems of third world countries, poor developing countries, will have to be addressed through the law enforcement. Because the biggest problem facing us is issue of mismanagement, incompetence, maladministration, poor governance as a result of corruption. And corruption, if you define it, it covers everything. It covers selfishness in government, it covers stealing, it covers misuse or abuse of office or abuse of power. All these things is under it. And how do you fight it? You must fight it through the due process, the law, the rule of law thing. So when I had this chance, I said, look, this is a vehicle through which we can address our problems more than anything. More than anything, yeah. Civil societies, media have all been fighting to get things done properly and correctly all through. But then the impact will not be much in terms of really getting results and changing things. Law enforcement do have the capacity and the capability because you have the authority of state behind you. You have all the means to ensure that things are done properly and the laws are enforced.
Because I recall that story of you going to Hong Kong and actually handing over $4 million to some woman who had been scammed. What I'd like to understand is, number one, how you even got the EFCC to be able to achieve that and how EFCC does that. And then, how far can you go? And of course, everybody here has questions for you.
Still on the cyber crime thing, I use, like every young person, I use the cyber cafes a lot. And I was out of town for a week. And I came back to see that there was 100% increase in browsing prices.
Okay.
And I asked the operator, and he said there was a new law against night browsing.
Yeah.
No doubt, the law is welcome because a lot of the crimes are perpetrated then and everything. But what does that translate to for the youths that can't afford that type of thing? There are people that cannot afford to pay 200 naira for an hour. And I live in a suburb, in quotes. So I can imagine if I had to go and browse on the island, as they say, I would be paying near from 300 to 500 naira. And we need information. We need the internet. So and this is the principle I'm talking about. In trying to sanitize, lesser mortals suffer.
Yeah.
in quotes. So could there be something that would suit? Because the excuses the cyber operators use now is there's no more night browsing, and that is where they make their money from.
You see?
According to them, that is where they make their money from, and I know that is where they make their money from. But what happens to the clean people? I've sat in a cyber cafe and there was a raid, and I got carried as well.
And
I was busy sending a mail to my auntie, and we got carried to this police station. And if I didn't have my ID card on me, I think I would have, been in a cell for once in my life. So it doesn't have to be, do there have to be sweeping measures that affect everybody every time?
This is it's a good question, and I can understand what you are talking about. First and foremost, the cyber cafe operators themselves are not being fair.
True.
Simply because of stopping bad things, you are asked to pay for that, and I think this is not right. It's not something that they should just be allowed to. One. Two, when you have bad things and bad people in your midst, chances are the innocent ones will suffer. We have what we call collateral damage. It's something that has to be accommodated within the context of sanitization and cleaning. We know the things that we are doing may be tough, difficult. Innocent ones may probably suffer for now, but it's a matter of time. If we do not do it, you'll end up suffering more. You'll end up being denied everything, including indeed, even browsing and getting out. They will have cut you off, cut Nigeria out. We were getting to a stage where they were not going to allow any communication. We have seen it with FATF. We worked hard to remove Nigeria from the FATF list. What that means? It means that Nigeria at one point was cut off from the finance dealings in the world. They say you are dubious people, you are dishonest, nobody wants to do business with you. Even up to this point, you cannot use, for example, a credit card and transact business from Nigeria on the internet. How did you even get to come to bring even in credit cards in Nigeria? It was like this. So all these things are things that we suffer as a result of not doing this, what we are talking about. We are going to implore and ask Nigerians to bear with the little difficulties that we have to endure in the process of cleaning and sanitizing. Tomorrow will be a better day for all of us if we do what is right today.
Right.
Yes, sir. You said something earlier on that when you are with those that that they are into corruption, that you know them personally. As in, I want to ask that within the country, does it mean that you have tipsters around that do give you information, or is it that you are doing it all alone, that you just guess that, okay, the look of this person is into this kind of a thing?
I've told you earlier that we have a process. We do not just go about picking people just simply because we are just, we dislike your face or we disagree. No. We always want to go through the process. Some of the big cases Nigerians are hearing that we have taken, they are all as a result of some specific things that are ongoing. For example, the governor of Plateau, it's a request from the United Kingdom. He was caught with money over there. DSP, the former governor of Bayelsa, it was a request from UK again. He was arrested there. And then they asked us to intervene. And when he got back, we had to do the work, what we did. In the case of, for example, this somebody who wants to be president, what's his name? General Marwa. It was a request from Jersey, Ireland, that requested us to investigate him. In the case of the vice president, it is the United States government that requested that please look into this. And that is the reason why we went into the cases. These are some of the things that we follow. It's not we go out of our way because your face, you look like a thief. No, we do not. We follow procedure. There are other means that we can also come into cases. We have a system. We have new laws in Nigeria that empowers us to know what is happening in the finance sector. For example, the former Inspector General of Police, Nigeria might want to know how we got to go about it. It's simply because we saw in his name billions of naira in his own name in a private bank. And we felt that it's something that we need to ask questions.
When did the police become so profitable?
Thank you very much. So these are the things that we really look at and so on. It's not we go about going after you simply because, no, at all.
Why do you think that in Nigerian context, once you're just invited, just come and answer a few questions, they're up in arms?
Thank you. That is
why is it? Why?
I think this is because we are not used to law and order. It's a new thing to us. It's something that they don't understand. I'm above the law. I mean, if it's a poor man, no problem. You can take him, do what you like with him. Nothing, nobody asks questions. But there, touch a big man and you see, the sky will fall. And that is it. For example, look at what is happening in the case of Mike Adenuga. This is somebody we went one day, we tried to get him, come and talk to us, for God's sake. EFCC officials went and waited for 8 hours in front of his house. He refused to come out. He refused. And when we got him, he came and stayed one day with us. He left. The next day, he escaped. He is out of the country now.
Are you looking for him?
Yes, we are. If you see him, we are. Tell me, we are looking for him. Of course, we are looking for him. And that is it, because he's a big man. He's above the law. And the whole, everywhere papers you read condemning us, we have Gestapo. And we have commando raid into... If it is...
What's that what happened? They said that you...
Which commando, for God's sake?
That you went with 70 people.
They said that we came with tanks, with jets also. Because he's above the law. This is the simple thing.
But is there any truth to that story?
How can, for God's sake? How? Where? How can we do a thing
You
like
don't
this?
have tanks and you don't
For
have...
God's sake, for God's sake. But you know, they build up something, and simply because everyone is telling us that he is above the law. And it's not just him. There are several people like that. And how can you run a country? How can you do justice? How can you do things properly on the basis of this? How? It cannot work. And there is nowhere in the world such a thing will happen. If it's anywhere, if it's in the US, in the UK, those who we think have done very well, who we are desperate to copy, Adenuga would have been in prison for failure to answer a call of the law enforcement. But in Nigeria, it's the opposite. We are condemned. We are abused. Who the hell are you? Where are you coming from? You dare talk to big man.
Right.
Yes, sir. I would like to ask something. 2007 is fast approaching. What are your plans for the political something going on right now?
Yeah.
As in INEC, are you assisting the INEC? What are your plans?
Yes.
For 2007?
We are.
Oh,
We are working. We are working. I think I can keep quiet now.
Yeah. All right.
I read the reports published by EFCC in Punch, and I can see that virtually everyone whose names have been has been indicted one way or the other was questioned and their statements published. And I know that our president's name too was mentioned, but he was not. I don't know. His statement was not published, if at all. It was questioned.
Okay.
These are some of the things I just want to know.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, you asked, probably if not because of the case of the years, probably it would not have been the case. No one will have known what really happened. I agree with you. On the issue of the president, well, the investigation in the first instance, we are investigating PTDF, where government money was taken and taken out of the country for business in the US. And that is the cause of the case in the US. And that was what the US government asked us to assist in investigating. They are investigating their own member of parliament, the House of Representatives, congressman, for using his own office to do business. And that is against their own laws there. So they sent and they said, look, we saw this thing that comes from Nigeria and that there are individuals involved in it. They mentioned the name of the vice president, they mentioned the name of so many others. They did not mention the name of Obasanjo. When we came and we were investigating, we went to TDF, we did not see the name of Obasanjo there. Neither did Obasanjo authorize the movement of money. Obasanjo never stayed with Mike Adenuga or owners of TIB to send the money of PTDF to TIB or to ATB. Obasanjo never met with Congressman Joseph Jefferson and he never tried to do business. Obasanjo never had anything to do with MDTV, the company in Nigeria that did the business with iGate, the company from the US. Obasanjo never got money back from that transaction. Obasanjo has nothing to do with it. That is part of the thing that we have to. Everything you do in Nigeria today simply is politics. Drag the name so that you destroy the work.
Wait, I have two questions.
And that is not fair.
Sorry, from what you...
deceiving Nigerians. It's denying us justice.
From what you've just said, yeah, there are two things that worry me. Like the gentleman pointed out, if the US hadn't made an inquiry, this case may just have passed us by.
And there are so many cases like this.
Wait a minute. Isn't the EFCC by law given powers to begin investigations on their own? Can't you make inquiries on your own?
The point is, you know, it's so overwhelming, so much, that we have to do what we can within our limits, within our competence, within our capacity. But I can tell you, every sector you go in Nigeria, there is a need for something to be done.
Yes, I agree.
Go to local governments, go to state governments, go to government departments. This is one little insignificant unit called PTDF. Look at what is going on. God knows what is happening in the others. But then, of course, like you say, we do what we can. We have been very busy. I tell you, we work 18 hours out of 24 hours a day. Sometimes we go 2-3 days without sleep. We are really, really putting our best in the work we are doing. We have today hundreds and hundreds of cases. We have taken over 400 criminal cases to our courts. We have so many convictions. We are fully engaged.
I know the question on your mind. If we are thinking alike, that if it ever comes up, maybe the government of some other country or during routine investigation, that there's need to question Mr. President.
Oh yeah.
Do we have your... Very much. Would you do it?
Oh, definitely. I've taken his statement before.
Okay.
But let me tell you, it's a very interesting question, and I think I should share it with you. When we started working in 2003, it was our intention to say that, look, we are going to go and fight this corruption head on in Nigeria. We knew that most of the grand corruption that took place in Nigeria, the money goes out of Nigeria. It's taken to the West and then kept in banks and investments there. So when we engaged particularly the Metropolitan Police in London, the Serious Fraud Office, the NCIS, we said, help us. Can you assist Nigeria in fighting corruption? Because if we do it internally alone, we may not succeed because most of the money goes out. We gave them the names and we said that, please, can you help us? The first name we gave was Obasanjo. Check him, please, for us. Wallahi, that's what we did. Before we give any other name, and they checked him. And if they had given us, they said Obasanjo had houses or bank accounts in, probably I would have confronted him and asked him for it. If it's not something that he can explain, I will make it public. No doubt about it. Okay. But as God will have it, and we are lucky, they told us no. He did not have one single account outside. He did not have one single credit card. We could not identify him with anything that is of questionable source. Okay. And that's how they went after. From that team to others, continuously. Some of the cases they took is as a result of this initiative. So it's not an issue of if tomorrow they will come, if we will get a referral, a mutual legal assistant asks us to investigate Obasanjo, we will do it. Even the simple allegations made by one of the governors in Nigeria against him, he referred it to us. And we investigated. We carried thorough investigation.
Talking of positive change, sir. You mentioned something now that this corruption thing dances around a clique. Now, it is interesting to me as a person that from most of the reports published by AFCC, the same individuals, the same big men that have been... Now, talking of positive change, what is the stand of AFCC in getting the right things done, especially at the presidential level?
Thank you very much. I think the question is straightforward, and I can be honest with you, honestly. Please understand me. We never claim to be 100% perfect. You understand? And we have a boss. The boss is President Obasanjo. He allows this work to continue. If he wants to stop it today, he will stop it. Please listen to me. He is the President and Commander-in-Chief of Nigeria. Everything that happens in Nigeria today is his program, at least the work we do, because it is him who was elected, and it is his program that runs the government. You understand? You have to accept it from this fact. The work we are doing is because he agrees with it. And anywhere in the world is like this. If he wants to stop it tomorrow, he will stop it. So for God's sake, give him credit for what is going on. And I'm honest about it. What is happening now is that simply because people realize the best way to stop with what we are doing is to link the two. Don't touch me if you cannot touch Obasanjo. It's like telling any person, any organization, I don't know whether you work, you have head of your place. Go and challenge him. If not, you cannot challenge any other person. That's what they are telling. Will that be fair to you? Will that make it work?
No.
They use it as a condition and make it impossible for us to do any work. Don't ever bring anybody to justice unless you attack Obasanjo, even if they cannot give you much to work with. We have investigated several. Some people will want to read so many things, meanings into it, but that is left for them. The important thing that we have done a lot in this country today, and we are continuing to do. So many people are not happy with the work being done. They have no any other way of stopping this work being done other than this cheap blackmail. I don't think you are one of them that will want to see us stop this work. But that is all what they want. They want us to stop. If Nigerians are saying stop, don't go after 419, don't go after bank fraudster, don't go after who is stealing your crude oil, don't go after anybody who is stealing public money until you touch Obasanjo. Fine. We all pack our baggage and go. Let's continue business as usual.
Right. Fixing Nigeria, utopian task.
Very.
For some people say impossible task. But you say we can fix Nigeria.
Oh yeah, we can.
It's my personal belief that we must fix Nigeria.
Yeah.
You have a project now.
Yes.
You know, a process through which you want to at least attempt this.
Yes.
How is it going to work? What is it? Fix Nigeria.
Well, we are coming out with it. We have a rollout program. We have been meeting in the last 3-4 months with all who we consider stakeholders, some important people in the society. What I mean by important people, those who have been doing this type of work, the civil society, the unions, the youth, the schools, those who are really having this, a lot at stake, those who can play a role in the future of what we are, Nigeria, those who can make the difference, those whose voices have never been heard, and indeed do have a lot to contribute. We want to see if we can bring the two together. We are from the government. We always want to show that there is no difference between us. We have one common objective, one common goal, and it can be achieved. If we bring ourselves together, we work together, chances are we may succeed. Succeed in changing attitudes, succeed in changing the way we do things, succeed in setting a new agenda for our country, showing that really, if others could succeed any other place, why not us? And there's no reason why. We are probably one of the most talented people you can get in the world. With all the short handicaps, with all the difficulties, Nigerians are making it all over the world. You go anywhere in the world, you see a Nigerian doing something. Our people go out everywhere to improve their lives, improve the life of those who are dependent on them. And then we leave our own country, really, begging, desperate for attention. We want to see if it's possible for us to build love, to build patriotism in our country. Let's love one another. There is no difference between one another. We are all one, honestly, and there is no alternative to that. This country, we like it or not, we are going to remain the same one. Nothing can ever happen to it. The earlier we realize that, the earlier we appreciate that we should build patriotism and love the country, not this selfish, narrow interest today that is being exhibited daily. And it can be done, and there is no alternative to it. So this is part of the Fix Nigeria project. How do we start loving ourselves? How do we start building patriotism? How do we start putting selfish interests aside? And how do we start realizing that there is no alternative to it? We better come together, we can address it. Through that, we'll be able to establish justice, fairness, which is what most people are complaining. The moment you do things properly and correctly, you will come to trust one another. You come to love one another. You will come to build patriotism. Any country that you see has done very well, first and foremost, look at the people and see what they can do for their country. How ready they are to sacrifice anything for their own country. If you have a country where people do not even identify with one another, do not love the country, nothing can work.
Okay.
So this is some of the things that we think. Through that, we will be able to, if we come together, we will give chance for good people to be in the position of leadership. We will start bringing new ethics in the way we're running government. We will bring all the efforts of others, and collectively maybe we can change the platform.
Well, I almost said amen.
Amen.
You know, but
It can be done.
I believe strongly.
It's difficult.
That's my fervent belief. If I don't think it can be
Few
done.
people destroyed this country. Few. I'm telling
That's
you.
exactly
few
what
people.
Dora
So
said.
bad
They're just
people
small.
made a mess of it. Let them give chance. Good people will come and fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now my last assignment on today's show is to exhume the little mundane everyday things that make you ordinary and normal.
Yes.
And I will start.
Yes.
You look like you don't eat plenty of food.
Lean and hungry.
You know, I know what they say in Nigeria. You don't look like you, and they've said it to me many times. I'm no longer like that anymore. But you know what I mean? What's your favorite meal?
My goodness.
The first time he stomped.
Yes, it's not. I don't know. What's your favorite
But you
meal?
know what?
What?
I swear it's Eba. Eba and Ogbono.
Mine is eba and okra.
Draw soup.
Any draw soup.
Any draw soup.
Any draw soup.
Any day you want to make my day.
Any draw soup.
Any day you want to make my
Fantastic.
day.
You take food from people.
Yes.
I swear I won't kill you.
Seriously.
That kind of thing. Okay, number 2. What's your family like? We've never heard or seen anything about your family.
You mean my immediate family?
Your immediate family.
Yeah, I'm mad. They go in Abuja, all of them. My wife is a full-time housewife, even though she is a qualified lawyer and she has a master's. By the way, I don't have master's. I didn't finish. When you
didn't finish, eh?
No.
Well, similar. I expect to master's degree. I didn't finish them. I didn't see what they were
But
doing.
I wrote my dissertation. I did everything. It's just for the university to consider it and give me. I'm waiting up till now.
Ah, okay.
So, but I've done the coursework. I've done the.
So do you make your wife sit at home?
Maybe it's her own choice, to be honest. She is also from an academic background. Her father is Professor Iya Obaka.
How does she feel about your work?
She's a quiet person, and I'm happy for that. She's simple and she keeps to herself. And it's okay. I mean, I'm okay with my life like that.
How do people treat your children? I mean, what is it like for them in school, for example?
I have not had any nasty, fairly okay. So far, so good. And simple, quiet life. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you drink?
No.
Do you smoke?
I've never tested alcohol in my life.
Never?
Never.
Never. Do you smoke?
I did when I was younger, but just like ordinary. But not now. Not at all.
No. Do you smoke?
No.
Nothing? You've never inhaled anything?
No, I did before.
Oh.
Yeah, I did.
You smoked or you inhaled something?
I smoked.
Which one?
I smoked.
Okay.
But smoked.
Really, it's not really big.
It wasn't any big deal. Do you like women?
I like women. Like any other man. Any man who tells you he doesn't like women is a liar.
But who had a mundane question? They said to ask you, yes, good.
But not that I abuse that likeness, no.
We can tell you don't, because somebody would have tried it.
Do you have a weakness?
That you know of.
My goodness. I have so many, just like one thing.
Tell us what.
Like, what do you mean, weakness? In what sense?
But you just agreed you had some.
I mean, tell me my weakness. I'll tell you whether I have some.
My weakness, I get angry.
I do get angry easily.
I have a mundane question.
What is your weakness?
No, I won't tell you my weakness. I have a mundane question. Besides corruption and big manism that obviously riles you, I mean, just by talking about it, we can see how much it angers you. What else upsets you? Especially concerning...
I hate deceit. I hate people who take advantage of situations and deceive people. And there are so many. You have people who desperately... I have some of the governors. There are people who cause genocide in Nigeria, cause religious riot for them to remain in power. Such people make me angry. I have people who daily, they are champions of some stupid tribal sentiments, champions of this, fighting for the right, simply because they want to corner something for themselves. Such things make me extremely angry. I hate it.
Do you relax?
I live a very, very normal life, like every other person. Very, very normal.
What do you mean by that? I dance, for example.
I will dance. I'm not a good dancer, but anyway, I can.
You like music?
There's this important point to be made.
Yeah.
That, it's very easy sometimes, particularly when obviously, and nobody is perfect, but obviously, majority of the work you do is so much for good. It's easy for such people, and I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's easy for one to begin to believe one's own hype.
Yes.
You know, number one, how do you check yourself?
Thank
I mean,
you,
for example, I look in the mirror and I say, "Whoa, Aduke Yoda." You know,
daily I do.
You know, like that. So what? How do you prevent the sycophants?
It's true. It's a most difficult thing. For example, even to really be known, it's something I don't like. I would rather if we could do this work in a quiet, simple manner. Sometimes things get into people's head. Sometimes the way I talk, maybe it's not even. People may misunderstand me, may completely misconstrue how you are. I hate adulations. I don't like to be even recognized. Honestly, leave me if I'm just simple. I don't like. It goes into heads of people. You begin to feel as if you are above. It's something that is not there. It will never be there. I'm telling you, it will not. I hate it. But sometimes you can easily be tagged and lumped with those who are doing the same thing. And I find it difficult. I also restrain myself and try not to allow whatever it is to get into your head for you to abuse it. And even the work we do, as much as possible, I never take unilateral action. I do it collective with people. We listen. We continuously continue to hold meetings out within us. Even now, we are thinking of setting up a sort of eminent Nigerians, a group of Nigerians, to come and be seen what the work we are doing. To look at it at a point higher than us and advise us, tell us. And I always like even being criticized. I like to be criticized. I think it's good. It helps you to be a better person. So when Olesoyinka appeared before in our program, he said that, look, you EFCC, you need to calm down. And that when he said so, we went back to EFCC and we talked about it. And we are improving ourselves. We said, look, this is the perception of people. This is what people believe. We have to do something about it. Can we improve ourselves more and better and better? Daily, all the things that people are saying about us, we take it serious. If you tell me today I'm doing something wrong, I will take it and see what I can improve about it. I'm very grateful.
I've been restored.
You've been restored this morning.
But it's a collective thing. All of us will have to do it. And we are not claiming ownership of this thing. I think it's all of us. I think all of us, the work we are doing is probably as big as whatever we are doing. Like all the rest of you. And collectively together, I'm sure we will change our country.